Duncan Mathenge, and we hope that you'll take it and make sure that the media.
In the motion, I saw Honorable Dan Wanyama, the chair in charge of sports. I don't know why he stepped out. But the next time we'll sit over this matter, we'll have that time to contribute. And I want to thank the members for being very patient. Order, honorable members. Honorable members, at the time being 1:00 p.m., this House stands adjourned until today, Wednesday, the 12th day of April 2023 at 2:30 p.m.
And all the time? Yes, that's right. Baba Paroko na viongozi wa kanisa hili, wa Kristo, hamjambo nyote. Hamjambo tena. Mimi sina mengi ya kusema. Yangu tu ni kutoa shukrani zangu na za wale ambao tumeandamana nao, kwenu nyinyi wa Kristo wa kanisa hili, kwa kutukaribisha tuweze kusalimisha na kumshukuru Mwenyezi Mungu pamoja. Asanteni sana. Tumetembea hapa mara nyingi na kila wakati mnatukaribisha na moyo mwema, na tunajisikia tukiwa nyumbani, tukiwa kati yenu. Niseme asante kwa hiyo pia. Na niseme tutaendelea kusaidiana kwa mambo mbalimbali, na tutaendelea kusaidiana kwa sababu lengo letu ni moja peke yake: kuendelea kuinua hali ya maisha ya wananchi wetu, kuendelea kuinua hali ya maendeleo katika taifa letu, na kuendelea kuunganisha Wakenya. Na mimi ningependa tu kuwaomba tuwe na huo moyo wa kupendana, wa kushirikiana, kwa sababu haya mapenzi na huo umoja ndio utatusaidia kuhakikisha ya kwamba tumejenga taifa hili letu la Kenya, taifa ambalo litakuwa na amani, taifa ambalo linaweza kuwa na nafasi nyingi zaidi za kazi kwa vijana wetu, na taifa ambalo lina maendeleo. Na hiyo ndio lengo letu, na hiyo ndio barabara ambayo sisi tunafuatilia. Mimi sipendi kuongea siasa kwa kanisa, kwa hivyo mimi sitaongea siasa. Mimi naongeanga huko nje, na nitaendelea kuongea, sio hapa. Yangu ni hiyo tu. Muendelee kuombea taifa hili letu la Kenya, muendelee kuombea viongozi wawe na umoja, muendelee kuombea taifa ambalo Wakenya wameshikana, wameshirikiana na wanafanya kazi pamoja kama kitu kimoja. Na tunajua ya kwamba tukiongozwa na yale yote ambayo tunafanya, tuongozwe na Mwenyezi Mungu, hakuna lolote ambalo hatuwezi kutimiza. Baba Parokia, asante kwa yale ambayo umesema na kwa maombi yako, na tunaendelea kukuata.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I just want you to also consider gender, because you also know a lot about vetting. You want to speak. Thank you.
I know you, Honorable Rene, said that following that determination of the Supreme Court, gender of people is no longer known. So I don't know when Honorable Tim Wanyonyi confirmed it does not belong to the gender you imagine. Honorable Tim Wanyonyi, proceed.
Honorable, my gender is known, and I know I subscribe to the original creation, the way God created us, man and woman.
Yes.
Not the other people who are trying to bring in a third party,
yes,
which does not subscribe to nature.
So Honorable Tim Wanyonyi is an African male adult.
Yes.
And so after he contributes, the other gender will be considered. You may proceed.
Thank you, Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I represent an urban constituency. And this gambling issue, this betting, Mr. Speaker, is really affecting our society. You come these days, Mr. Speaker, they have created small machines, a size of an ATM machine, Mr. Speaker, which are placed in local villages. And you find boys and girls, they sneak in, go and play that thing. There is even no age limit. It's allowed, anybody can play. And that's why, Mr. Speaker, we must save this generation from this. This betting, Mr. Speaker, if it's not regulated, is going to create a big problem in this society. The current generation, Mr. Speaker, we are witnessing people thinking that hard work is not necessary. You can just go and gamble and win millions of money. And this, Mr. Speaker, is the biggest monster that is consuming our young people. And we must find a way to regulate this so that only licensed betting companies, Mr. Speaker, can do this business, and with strict regulation as to age and the people who can participate, and also the timing of how they do it. Mr. Speaker, you find betting now has gone into areas which are very popular with people, especially sports and other things, Mr. Speaker. So that people now, even football, people don't watch football because they love football. They watch football because they're playing, they're gambling. They are trying to, do something about which team is going to win and what, and on like that, Mr. Speaker. And we have seen this trend is going on, and you have seen many people. If you ask him, even the player of a team that is, he doesn't know anybody, but he is betting on that. So we are just looking, Mr. Speaker, that this issue was even in this House in the last Parliament, and we debated it, and there was issue of raising taxes so that they can discourage them. But I don't think that is the issue, because even if we raise taxes, these people, they mint a lot of money. And you remember, Mr. Speaker, in the 80s when we hosted all African Games here, there was an American conman who came here and pretended that he was going to bring Michael Jackson and others to come and perform before the games. And he collected millions of shillings, Mr. Speaker, and disappeared in a thin air. That the President Moi had to intervene and bring Franco from DRC Congo to come and save the situation. And this is, Mr. Speaker, we have seen foreigners who come here and pitch tent and do this thing of gambling. I don't know who licenses them, and use our media and all that. They drive it because they pay adverts in the media and all that, Mr. Speaker, so that they entice people, and people put money, and we have seen children who have even used school fees, and even just adults. A grown-up man who has taken a loan and go and start gambling, Mr. Speaker, and they lose and end up losing even their family property. So this is a very serious monster that we must control, and Mr. Speaker, I think this motion is very timely, and we need to follow it up and bring maybe a bill so that we can properly regulate this business in this country. Mr. Speaker, in other countries that are doing these things, they are properly regulated, and you don't see this thing being abused the way it is being done in this country. So I support this motion, and I believe that if we can regulate this thing, then we will be able to manage the affairs that go on, especially in our informal settlement, where people, and they target these people, Mr. Speaker, they target the poor people, because every shilling they have, they want to go and use it. in this business. Somebody just imagining that he has 5,000 shillings and he can win 100,000, he can win 20,000. So he just goes and throws the money and then they end up losing and it becomes very bad. And this has ended up even ruining families, people committing suicide and on like that, Mr. Speaker. So I support and I say thank you for giving me a chance to contribute, Mr. Speaker.
Is the MP for Kitui West, the Honorable Edith Nyanza, in the House? If she is saying she should proceed immediately, give her the mic.
On this motion, first congratulating the MP for this motion. It has come at the right time. And there was a time I even wanted to ask her a question, but now he's put it in the right way by actually getting the facts together and bringing it as a motion. You notice that many radio stations, especially vernacular radio stations, are actually running gaming or betting activities with against the law because they are not licensed and they do not have the requisite licenses to do so. You find that they're actually doing gaming. 80% of their time they're using on gaming and 20% on news. But they are supposed to they're actually licensed to do news and also advertisements and such like things. But most of the time they spend the time gaming. And this one has many Kenyans be victims because what they do is that they try to ask very simple questions and very obvious questions which anyone can answer. And by doing so, by asking such cheap questions, they attract the unsuspecting Kenyans who keep on trying, because especially during this time when we have people who are very desperate, these radio stations are taking advantage of these unsuspecting Kenyans who think that they can make money very quickly through gaming. With our youth, you find that our youth, they need a lot of education, they need a lot of counseling to be told that they will not get rich by getting money quickly, because that is what they are trying to do, because they think they will get money rich very quickly, and therefore they fall prey to these radio stations. So the gaming authorities should move swiftly and save Kenyans by coming up with the required regulations, required policy. The government should come up with a required policy so that we protect the unsuspecting Kenyans. So the radio stations are giving false hope, stealing. Actually, this one is daylight, stealing from unsuspecting Kenyans. So I want to address the Kenyans and tell them that to actually stop losing money, to stop losing money through this gaming, because what they are following or what they are doing is actually false. It's not true. There is no money, and it's not easy to get that 100,000 you are being promised by these radio stations. Just work hard. Use that money for the right kind of use which you wanted to use it for. Don't speculate that you will get money. There is no money, because even the people they are announcing on the radio stations that they have won, if you follow, you will find that actually these are not real people. Maybe they are just their family members. Maybe they are just their friends. And they are just lying that you are going to get a lot of money. So, Mr. Speaker, I support this motion and say that the government should move swiftly to come up with the regulations and the right guidelines to these radio stations. In fact, they should stop this game right away, so that we don't have many Kenyans lose their money. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I support the motion.
Thank you very much. The Honorable Member of Parliament for Kericho County, the Honorable Beatrice Kimei.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to contribute to this, the motion that has been raised by Honorable Matenge. I want to appreciate the fact that it has come at the right time when Kenyans are looking for any way possible to get food on their table, any way possible to pay their bills, to pay school fees and all that. And Mr. Speaker, when you talk of betting, gambling, lottery and all that, it is something that personally I don't believe. Being a Christian, I want to quote what the Bible says in 1 Timothy 6:10, that says that the love of money is the root of all evil. This tells us that people would want to have easy money, to get money in a very simple way, in a very easy way, and they're not only getting money, somebody putting 10 shillings, 50 shillings, and they are expecting to get hundreds, millions, and even thousands. Mr. Speaker, this one has a very much negative impact on our society. I have very many examples, Mr. Speaker, back in Kericho. I remember this one of Lotto that came so strongly, and many women left their houses very early in the morning, go and do the same betting, missed it, and then when they get back home, they were beaten. I know of a very close neighbor of mine. I had to go and rescue her. I told the husband, please don't chase her away. She was being chased to her home because of that. I talked with her. She's able to do many other things, but she concentrated on that, losing a lot of money. Some even left their children not to cook for them. Lunchtime is there. They are still very busy betting. And you can imagine.
We look at the vices vis-a-vis the advantages of gambling in this country, you will realize that the effect of the gambling on the negative are so immense. And this is the reason as to why we should make sure that gambling or betting in this country is regulated in a manner that it is not so disadvantageous to the young men and women who are mostly vulnerable due to the rampant effect of gambling. Today, Mr. Speaker, young families are unbreaking due to mistrust related to gambling, whereby either the wife or the husband is immensely indulged in gambling. So many Kenyans, particularly the young ones, are greatly impoverished due to gambling. The insatiable lust, the insatiable need for money have made so many young people to think that by doing betting, they will be millionaires in a fortnight. This is the wrong notion. This is the wrong thinking that has made people to suffer due to gambling. The mostly affected sector is the education sector, Mr. Speaker. Today, most of the students from the university are dropping out of school because they are deeply indulged in gambling. And this is the high time this owner of house should get ways and measures to make sure that we contain betting in this country for the posterity of our young generation. So many vulnerable school-going kids, due to the negative publicity that is done by the media houses. It very sweet ones, very enticing ones, make them think that if you indulge in betting by a day or so, or by a month, you will be a millionaire in this country. Just a few who has benefited from this, as it has been alluded, you will hear very sweet ones, music, to make sure that the listeners are made to move to this kind of business, which is not rewarding at all, as many people may think. So what we are saying is that one is also a kind of drug that is killing, that is eating to our society that needs to be very productive. Mr. Speaker, therefore, I'm calling the mover on Duncan to go ahead and have it as a bill so that we can discuss it and see the mechanisms, the best way possible we can make sure that we suppress this growing kind of habit that might eat on our very, very useful sector of our society if not clearly abated. With those few remarks, Mr. Speaker, I am saying the narrative that's being peddled by these houses to make sure that this kind of business drives for their benefit is not helping the young Kenyans and even the people who are greatly indulged in it. Today, even the football that we talk about, you hear fans talking about Goma here, talking about others, and mainly the international players. Whenever you hear them making noise, whenever they are saying we are supporting Arsenal, we are supporting Manchester, there is that element of gambling. And this is the reason as to why we are saying, as a country, we must get the mechanism and ways to regulate this growing kind of menace.
Of what we need to look at in this particular motion. Because, Honorable Speaker, anything in this world that has an illicit tag to it becomes automatically sweet for people to want to go for it. Be it prostitution, be it alcohol, be it betting, anything that has that tag. So what we need to do, in essence, is, for as long as this
Did you say, what did you say is illicit? Constitution, or what did I hear you say?
There's a P in front. I said prostitution.
Oh, prostitution.
Speaker. Yes.
Okay.
So what I want the approach I want us to take is that in formulating these regulations, we have to have a give and take approach in it. And the reason why I say that, and just to add to what my sister has said, is that some of these betting companies have really supported our sports. Yeah? Just the other day, Harambee Starlets were in training for a whole month, and they could not even go and attend a friendly against Albania because they did not have sufficient funds. But if you look at some of the betting companies, like for example, Mozart supports Homeboys FC, Betika supports Police FC and AFC, SportPesa supports Moranga and Gor Mahia. We have sports companies and clubs that are actually suffering right now, and we have to raise funds on a weekly basis, like Shabana from back at home, who are doing extremely well, but they don't have anyone to support because the government doesn't have enough sufficient funds to support our sports. So what we also need to do in our regulations is to look at a way that ensures that some of these betting companies that are actually supporting our sports, that are gaining revenue from it and supporting our sports, how are we also supporting them, just to encourage them as well? Because regulation is good, yes, but at the same time, it has to be a regulation that also seeks to find out how are we also giving back. Because when you create laws in this country, they have to be laws that also encourage investment and revenue earning. Number two, the media companies. Because a lot of media companies, when you look at it right now, Honorable Speaker, be it FM stations or TV stations, they've gone into that space. Why? Because a lot of people are no longer doing advertisements on media. People don't have money. We are living in extremely difficult times. So for media houses, they found that this is one way that they can actually use to raise revenue for themselves. So what these regulations need to do is to ensure, because I am certain that every media company in this country has a legal office attached to it, is to ensure that the legal fraternities and departments in these radio stations and TV stations are making sure that the laws that we have in place are properly put in place to ensure that they also protect the consumers of this. Honorable Speaker, if you look at the Sports Amendment Bill of 2018, and in particular Section 12(1)(2) of A and B, it actually states very clearly that proceeds of any sports lottery taxes levied on betting companies should ideally go to the sports fund, so that then the sports fund can assist to make sure that the different teams that we have in this country are supported. The question we should be asking ourselves is this really happening? Has KRA given audit records to the sports committee to ensure that this actually happens? And I saw the sports chair here, Mr. Chair, and I really wanted him to listen to this, because this is another angle that we should be looking at. So when we're reading both acts, the Lottery and Betting Act and the Sports Act, we need to make sure that it covers ground sufficiently so that it helps this country. Mr. Speaker, one of the games that earned this, the sports Gor Mahia the highest source of revenue was a game that they played against Everton in May of 2019. And that particular game was a full stadium in Kasarani. I remember I was in attendance. That particular game, through Sports Pesa, who did extreme marketing online, on social media, on radio, on TV, was full capacity. And full capacity because it ensured that people paid for the game, people put a bet to either support Everton or Gor Mahia, and because of that, the team was able to actually pay allowances for its players and coaches, and they were able to actually serve the sports fraternity. So what I want us to do is, let's not only look at the bad side of gambling, because for as much as we can sit here all day and say that we want people to stop gambling, we want people to stop putting money in gambling, there's nothing we can do about it. People will still go out there and gamble. People will still go out there and put money into these betting companies. What we need to do is make sure, are we milking enough from these different companies to ensure that the government also has an extra source of revenue to support some of these facilities that they cannot support. Right now in this country, Honorable Speaker, we don't even have medical insurance for our sporting men and women. We have sporting men and women out there who have retired prematurely because they are not able to get proper medical facility. So let's not come out and injure the people who are at least trying their best to assist in whichever way that they can to make sure that this continues, even as we go out to seek solutions. So, Honorable Speaker, I just want to encourage my colleague Dan, Honorable Dan from Nyeri, and tell him that as we are looking at the regulations that we want to take care of, let's make sure that we are also protecting our people from the same. And personally, because one of the reasons I said when I came into this parliament was that I will always look out for sports fans and sports players, because sports bring people together. So Honorable Dan, together with the committee that is going to work on this, let's look at other ways. Let's even go into public participation and see how Wananchi can also give us ideas on how we can enhance this and make it better for our people. I thank you.
The President of Kenya and the Deputy President are leading a team to sensitize, within NACADA, are working out a way of stopping or the use of drugs, and the use of illicit brews, which have become rampant in Kenya and which have ruined our young generation, that if we are not careful, we will not have a generation in future as Kenya. That is where the problem is. So if this gambling is not censored, it becomes problematic. Once upon a time, when I used to teach at the university, you would walk to a classroom and find empty lecture rooms because some students are busy gambling. Most of them wasted away the fee they were given by their parents. Most of them sold everything, sold their college earthly possessions for the sake of gambling. We saw parents coming to the graduation, hoping that their kids were supposed to be in the graduation list, but they have dropped out, they have not been able to pay fees, they have never been to classes because they were gambling. When gambling becomes an addiction, that is where the problem comes about. We have had cases of Fulisa. Young people, you find them having more than 20 SIM cards because they are getting money, getting small loans from Fulisa to gamble. Isn't that a problem? So my take is, this gambling has to be regulated before it escalates to become an addiction, and more so to young people. When they start participating in this game, they lose concentration. They don't, others drop out of school. Others become petty thieves because they want to get little money. We've heard of stories of young people taking money from their parents' phones, and many other stories which are not very good for our society. Mr. Speaker, I would say that if this business is regulated, it is not enough to tax them, because taxation is going to, if we tax, it's like we are legitimizing the business anyway. We have to regulate them so that we censor and make sure those people who participate, they give an age gap, for example, of those who are supposed to participate in the gambling. And we bring clear regulations on how the game should be done. Otherwise, I'm also a member of parliament who has a rural constituency and urban. And you'll find that in the urban side of my constituency, there are so many gambling centers. People are reaping from very young people. We've had relationships breaking because the money, which is supposed to be for families, have been diverted to do other things like gambling. So what my take is, this motion is a very good motion. We should look at it critically and ensure we only delete what is not relevant, what is destructive, but we leave the business. We give the we press the regulator to get a bit serious and not just regulate anybody, not just give a license anyone because they want to be in business, because they want to make money. Just like those the organizations which are regulating these, those who regulate the supply of alcohol and drugs in our society. we'll find that some county governments are very fast in giving businesses licenses, regardless of what kind of alcohol or what kind of alcohol they are selling. Some just get a license and they go ahead to do illicit brews. And that eventually people get addicted and becomes problematic. So I think we should lump all of them and work closely to see which one is a good business and which one is not. If measures are put in place, I think everybody will be happy. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. The Honorable Irene Mayaka.
Setup might be a trap for you yourself, so we should be very careful. Betting companies pay their taxes. If we must regulate, maybe we can up it a little so that they pay higher, because we see the participants are many across even Africa or the world, and maybe what they give back is what we should be looking into, the auditing. We should be looking into how much do they give back to the country. But we all, as leaders, have a role into looking after our kids, what they are getting into. Many times, I do not sleep until I go through the history of my phone to monitor what my baby or my nephews or nieces have been looking into. So it is just a way of people being very lazy. What will your child be doing betting, and you are there? If they are trying those things, just stop them. So let us not throw punches and escape from our responsibilities as parents and start saying it is this gambling, it is that. And also, I think in the regulations, they would add and say, the way they say it to people who drink, that you engage in it at your own risk or something like that. It's a little warning to it, but do not kill any institutions that are here, that are helping our sports, our games. They are helping in one way or another in charitable activities. We see them helping out, and that is all I wanted to say. Thank you.
From Honorable Madenge. Mr. Speaker, gambling also considered as pathological gambling is a situation, is not a bad idea, but the problem comes in when it becomes addictive. And when it becomes an addiction, it is just like any
African Mathenge, and we hope that you'll take it and make sure that the media.
In the motion, I saw Honorable Dan Wanyama, the chair in charge of sports. I don't know why he stepped out. But the next time we'll sit over this matter, we'll have that time to contribute. And I want to thank the members for being very patient. Order, honorable members. Honorable members, at the time being 1:00 p.m., this House stands adjourned until today, Wednesday, the 12th day of April 2023 at 2:30 p.m.
To appear before the House and answer questions raised by members of Parliament directly. Honorable Speaker, sir, the member for Chuka Igamba Ng'ombe has asked the circumstances that led, he has asked for an explanation of the circumstances that led to the killing of Mr. Daniel Mutembei on 18th March 2023 in Kwego Village, Robate location, Tharaka Nithi County, which was reported by police on the following day, 19th of March 2023. Mr. Speaker, sir, on 18th of March 2023, a Mr. Leonard Njeru Mbuba from Robate location reported that his cousin, Daniel Mutembei, a male adult approximately 34 years, had been attacked the previous night by known people, according to the report, severely and critically injured, left for the dead, rained on for the rest of the night, recognized by villagers early in the morning who were taking milk to the collection point, still alive early in the morning. Mr. Speaker, although critically injured, it was reported that Mr. Mutembei was able to talk and identified those that attacked him and gave their names, 5 suspects. He was taken to hospital, but the injuries were already too much and he succumbed at the Chuka Referral Hospital. He succumbed to the injuries. That report was made and entered into the OB. Mr. Speaker, sir, and just for the clarity of the member and the House, that report was made the same morning of 19th March 2023. Investigations ensued, and before any statements could be taken from any of the suspects, the same suspects went to the Chuka High Court and obtained anticipatory bail, restraining their arrest and prosecution until the matter is heard and determined, or until further orders were issued by the High Court. Those orders, Mr. Speaker, sir, were issued by Lady Justice Lucy Gistari of the Chuka High Court on 27th of March 2023, and the order specifically restrained the police from arresting the said persons. The orders also required that the matter be heard today, the 12th of April 2023. Today, the matter was came up for mention. And Mr. Speaker, I can report to the House that in the morning, the parties were heard. And I can also report to the House, Mr. Speaker, that for us in the ministry, we instructed the State Council to represent those parties that against whose orders were given, including the Inspector General of Police, the DCI, and all those who were sued. The family of the victim, the late Mutembei, also had hired a lawyer this morning, and both Mr. Mutembei's lawyer and the State Council made a very, very strong argument in an oral application for two things. One, the vacation of the anticipatory bail, which was lapsing today, that it should not be extended. And two, warrants of arrest to issue against the suspects. And both the deceased lawyer and the State Council were on one page, of course, against the opposition from the Defense Council. The ruling on this matter is before the judge this afternoon at 2:30, the same time that the minister is appearing before this House. In between, Mr. Speaker, on Saturday, the 8th of April, which is Easter Saturday, the victims were supposed to bury the late Mutembei, but they felt that this matter had taken too long and could not understand why a matter where there was, in their view, overwhelming evidence pointing at the killers should still be out there. And notwithstanding the anticipatory bail, they demanded that the arrest be done. There was a serious demonstration for most of the afternoon on Saturday, from 3 p.m. to well into the night. And they were carrying the coffin of the late Mutembei and demonstrated the whole afternoon, engaging the police in running battles. The police tried to talk to them diplomatically to bury the deceased as we wait for the finalization of the matter by way of appearance before court today, but they could hear none of it. In fact, Mr. Speaker, the protesters engaged police in throwing missiles when the police tried to use tear gas, and it was really a very, very rowdy protest. And of course, one would understand the public anger given the circumstances which the deceased had died. Mr. Speaker, sir, the police were able to open the road much later in the night, but an incident occurred around 7 p.m. the same night. One of the local young leaders, the chairperson of the Tharaka Nithi Border Association, one Willis Mugambi alias Kiraku, was shot dead in the chest around 7 p.m. and died on the spot. And that complicated the matter. And immediately that happened the same night, we dispatched through the Inspector General of Police the Internal Affairs Unit of the National Police Service from Nairobi. The head of the Internal Affairs Unit actually was dispatched the same night to Chuka to travel there and personally take over the investigations, mainly the investigations around the shooting of Willis Mugambi alias Kiraku, because it was alleged again by some who made reports that they suspected that he could have been killed by a police officer in the process of the riots. So we dispatched the Internal Affairs Unit. It's still there. We have crucial evidence, and we believe very shortly we'll be narrowing down to the person who shot and killed Mr. Mugambi. At the same time, the Independent Police Oversight Authority the following day on Sunday dispatched their team to investigate that incident. IPOA is independent. So while the internal investigations by the police is handled by the Internal Affairs Unit from Nairobi, the IPOA team also from Nairobi is handling an independent investigation so that there are no perceptions of internal collusion or preference whatsoever. The two teams are working, and I am told a lot of progress has been made, but up to now, the conclusion, the investigations are not concluded. So, Mr. Speaker, sir, in the in-between, we have reinforced security presence. As late as last night, there were incidents of, again, a few youths trying to block roads. And we have deployed the Regional Police Commander, Mr. Rono Bunei from Embu for Eastern Region, is the one personally dealing with that matter because, again, there were aspersions cast at our officers who are based in Chuka. Both the officer commanding Chuka Police Station and the county commander for Tharaka Nithi County. I can report, Right Honorable Speaker, that as we speak, in the meantime, we felt that in order to build public confidence in our officers, the Inspector General of the National Police Service has transferred both the OCS of Chuka Police Station and the County Police Commander of Tharaka Nithi, and new officers have been put in place already as we speak. So that's where we are, Mr. Speaker. We do not have any conclusive evidence. I want to assure the House that, one, we will respect the outcome of the court decision regarding the anticipatory bail, which we have opposed through the State Council. Once that anticipatory bail is lifted, and based on the evidence we have, all suspects are going to be rounded up in minutes. But we cannot violate a court order, and we really hope that our case will be favored by the judge this afternoon to allow us continue with the justice process beyond the point it is at the moment. With regard to the killers of Mr. Kiraku, the Boda Boda chair, again, we believe in the next few days, we will be able to have enough evidence to help us take action, including prosecution of the suspect. I think, Honorable Speaker, that is all I have up to now. I remain at the disposal of this House for any supplementary issues, and also with regard to the other questions that are listed in the order paper this afternoon. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Major Dong, do you have any supplementary to that on behalf of your colleague?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would say that thanks to the Cabinet Secretary for answering the same question, and having originated from the same county, I believe the Cabinet Secretary understands well, and he will be able to deal with that matter conclusively. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
That is a comment, Minister. You need not answer. Morugara. Now, those who want to ask supplementaries, you go to interventions, and I'll give only 3.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, the Cabinet Secretary, for that response. But I do have a supplementary question on behalf of the family of the late Willis Mugambi Kiraku as follows. What measures will the government put in place to ensure that the family of the late Willis Mugambi Kiraku, the Boda Boda chairman Tharaka-Nithi, who was fatally shot on the 8th of April 2023, is properly, sufficiently, and adequately compensated for the loss of their kin without undue delay? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Minister, you note the 3 supplementaries that will follow each other, then you answer. Robert Mbui.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Having been a victim of police violence, I think it's important to ask this because I know forensic evidence can show the gun that shot the bullet that killed that young Boda Boda rider, and also very many young boys and girls who were killed during the recent demos. I just wanted to confirm from the CS, are shoot-to-kill orders the acceptable by this regime of Kenya Kwanza that you serve? And do the police bosses understand the Constitution and the right of Kenyans to be able to picket under Article 37? Thank you.
The Honorable Pauline Lenguris, Samburu Women Rep.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. I want to conjoin my question to the Minister, and I want to thank him for the response, and want to request him that the killing of young innocent people has become rampant in this country. A case in point are also the killings that are brought about by the bandits. Every day, we are losing 2 people every day in the presence of security officers. I want to base my case in Samburu, for example, just related to that case, because killing is just a killing. We are losing people every day. And the minister is aware, I'm sure, is being briefed every day that people are being killed by the bandits who come to displace people in their homes. They are killing in the presence of the security officers who are there, the army, the GSU, the police. So we are wondering, what are these security officers doing when innocent people are being killed each and every day? We have lost properties. In 2 months, in Samburu, for example, we have lost 30 young men and 1 middle-aged woman. We cannot continue in this trend, Mr. Professor Kindiki. Please do something. And if the security officers are overpowered by the bandits, tell us, then we will plan ourselves to deal with them properly. Thank you.
The last supplementary minister I'll give for Minority Leader.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Just as a follow-up to the question originally asked by Mr. Honorable Munene, Mr. Minister, Waziri, I must really appreciate the speed with which your ministry dispatched the Internal Affairs Unit and indeed the IPOA to carry out investigations on the fatal shooting of Mr. Mugambi in Chuka. Mr. Speaker, we have similar, more or less similar cases that have happened in the recent past. A case in point is the fatal shooting of a third-year Maseno University student, William Mayenga, in Maseno University by the police on the 20th, I think, of March this year. The second incident is the killing by being run over by a police vehicle of police officer Ben Oduor of Nyamira, or of Keroka Police Station, Nyamira County. Bwana Waziri, could you confirm to the August House if you have similarly, in those instances, dispatched the Internal Affairs Unit to carry out investigations? And if so, what is the progress of those investigations? What is the status of those investigations? Or could we be seeing a case of double standards, application of the law differently in different situations, in different parts of the country, and concerning different communities? 2, is it now a policy of the Kenya Police Service to quell riots by use of live bullets? Is the old policy of using rubber bullets now discarded? And if so, when did this change in policy occur? And for whose benefit? Thank you.
Minister, there is a member, Honorable Kamren, who says that if he doesn't ask a supplementary, it will not be good for him today. I'll give him a minute, then you can answer the 5 questions.
Asante Bwana Spika. Nataka nichukue nafasi hii Spika. Nashukuru waziri amejaribu, lakini ninapoongea saa hii vita inaendelea kwangu Baringo South. Sasa hivi ninapoongea, na kijana mmoja tumepoteza maisha, 3 wameumia. Nimetumana pesa ya meli kwenda kuwachukua wale ambao wameumia, na nimetumana gari kwenda kuchukua mwili, na saa hii ng'ombe imeenda, watu wanakimbia, wanahangaika kwa sehemu ya Kiserian, Mukutane na Rukus. Najua waziri alikuwa kwa huko hapo awali, lakini saa hii imekuwa chungu kwamba kazi hii ya bandits inaendelea. Sijui waziri utafanya namna gani kwamba watu wangu wapata amani. Nimeomba kila wakati kwamba au wakora watolewe Rukus, Mukutane na Arabal locations. Au wamechukua hiyo locations sote 3. Hakuna mtu naishi mashule, mpaka hata bandits wenyewe wanaishi kwa mashule. Ile tuliyochenga kwa CDF. Nitakuwa nikicomplain mara ngapi? Watu wangu hawana bunduki. Mimi sio kama wale wengine wana bunduki wanaweza kujiokoa. Sisi hatuna bunduki. Waziri na anaelewa. Naomba kwamba nahitaji amani, na hii watu wangu ambao wameumia saa hii kwa sababu sijui hata ni ngapi. Naomba kwamba waziri, tutafanya nini hii vita saa hii isimame na watu wangu warejee, na hiyo ng'ombe imechukuliwa irudi, na serikali wanisaidie hiyo mwili ambaye imeenda na hao watu naumia, serikali wakaramie. Asante sana.
Minister, you may answer those 6 supplementaries. Be precise and concise. Given the tremendous interest, I might give another 2 thereafter.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, with regard to the supplementary question raised by the member for Tharaka, I would like to respond as follows. That at this point, when investigations are ongoing, we do not have conclusive evidence on who would have shot the deceased. However, if the evidence links an officer of the National Police Service or any other government official in the murder of Mr. Kiraku, 2 things I would like to assure the House. 1, whoever is responsible will be prosecuted. And 2, if the person has died in the hands of our officers, the procedures for compensation will ensue. Honorable Speaker, with regard to the question raised by the Honorable Mbui, I would like to respond as follows. There are no shoot-to-kill orders. On the contrary, all officers in the National Police Service and all security agencies who are involved in managing public protests, demonstrations, and riots and crowd control are under very strict instructions not to use live bullets when dealing with members of the public. In fact, Honorable Speaker, the reason the OCPD was transferred is because there were very strict orders given by the Inspector General of Police that there should be no live bullets used in crowd control, not just in Chuka, but even in other protests. So we are asking, we want to give some independence so that we establish when the OCPD is not in office, if indeed it's a police officer who fired that killer bullet against the orders and the policy of this government, then action will be taken. But of course, it could have been any other firearm holder because there are civilians also who are licensed to carry arms and they could take advantage of riots to cause deaths. Honorable Speaker, the third supplementary question was raised by the member for Samburu. And I want to assure the House, through you, Mr. Speaker, that the deaths that have been caused in Samburu and other parts of the country as a result of livestock rustling and banditry are regrettable. Two, we have had an operation going on there, but we continue to experience incidents of bandit attacks from time to time. Honorable Speaker, what has happened is that we have been able to dominate the permanent abodes where we suspected bandits were hiding whenever they steal livestock. And because of international standards on the use of force, that is the only reason we gave 24-hour ultimatum to any members of the civil population who could have been mixed up in these areas by way of being family members to the bandits, etc., to vacate. After that, we have been able to actually remove and dominate those areas and remove the threats that used to exist in those areas. But the spiral, what has happened is that during that window of notice we had given to be able to ensure that we don't have civilian casualties, some of these criminals could have mixed with the population. And because the security forces cannot be everywhere and guard every homestead, they are making sporadic raids, sometimes successful. But Mr. Speaker, we have prevented and thwarted and even recovered livestock numerous times on a daily basis. I am even willing to table within the time that we have had an operation in the north, how many livestock have been stolen in all those counties, how many have been recovered, and where, and how many are outstanding. We have not made full recoveries, and the reason is simple, that as soon as a raid is successful, the criminals divide the livestock into small numbers, 5, 10, so the recovery process is a bit slow, painful, but we've made some significant recoveries. I have evidence as late as yesterday, we have recovered livestock in Laikipia. So, Mr. Speaker, the challenge is still there. We do not want to deny that the challenge does not exist. And Mr. Speaker, this challenge has not started this year, last year, 5 years, 10 years. This is a problem that started as early as 1977 in some parts of these areas. We are doing everything possible to make sure that we have a final end of this problem. It cannot be done in a month, 2 months, 6 months, 1 year, but we will reach there. It doesn't matter what it takes. We are people of patience, we are people for understanding, and we know that we will get around it as soon as we continue this domination of these areas where the bandits retreat when they steal livestock. In fact, Honorable Speaker, we are upscaling the numbers of security agencies we have. We are doubling them on Saturday. And as I've announced, this deployment will not cease with the end of the operation. Whenever the operation will be called off, the security agencies will remain there for as long as Kenya exists, to ensure that this problem does not recur. Because previously we have done an operation, as soon as there is a semblance of tranquility, we recall the security agencies. Honorable Speaker, the fourth supplementary question was raised by the member for Ugunja, the Honorable Pio Wandai. And I would like to assure the House, through you, Honorable Speaker, that the government has no double standards or does not respond to security threats based on where they happen. In the matters that the Honorable Wandai has raised, in fact, we acted even faster. But there was no question asked for us to report what we have done. So I want to confirm to the House, the Honorable Speaker, that the same measures we have applied in Chuka are the same measures that have applied in this instance. The Internal Affairs Unit, as we speak, is on the ground. The IPOA is also on the ground to provide independent investigations. So there are no double standards, and I think I can comprehensively say I am the minister who has been in most parts of the country, given that I've only served for slightly under 6 months. I've been in almost 70% of Kenya. So there cannot be double standards, and I don't know the last time I was near my home. So if there will be double standards, I'll be accused of not going home, Honorable Speaker, not the other way around. Honorable Speaker, with regard to the fifth one, the fifth supplementary question raised by the Honorable Cameron, because the one by the Honorable Wandai about live bullets, I've already said the instructions are on the contrary, no live bullets. That's why you have seen, even in the most dramatic protests that we've had recently, we have not had casualties. We've not had deaths. And wherever deaths have occurred, like the Kisumu death and the one death in Kibera, the investigations will help us know whether this was a police gun or a civilian gun, because as I have said, both the police and civilians are licensed holders of firearms. If we establish anybody has violated the rules and the standing orders of the National Police Service, action will be taken. Honorable Speaker, finally, the supplementary question raised by the Honorable Cameron. I've been to Baringo, perhaps a little more than any other county, both overtly and covertly. I have been there visibly and invisibly. I know the complications and I understand the pain Honorable Cameron is going through. I share it, and I know what he's going through today. We have discussed with the leadership of Baringo and the other stakeholders and our security commanders on the ground that we must come around this problem so that it's just beyond recovering livestock which was stolen today. For me, I believe we must have a way of ensuring that no livestock is stolen again in the first place. What are the measures we are putting in place? One, this afternoon, we have just approved an additional 200 police reservists for Baringo, 100 for Baringo North, 100 for Baringo South. Training is going to start before Friday, because we believe the security agencies cannot be in every homestead, but the National Police Reservice can help mitigate a big way, and we have seen in other parts of the country, NPRs are helping stabilize situation in a big way. So we have approved that. I have provided the money for their training immediately. We will not be asking for any stakeholders to help us. We will do it, and that will stabilize. Number two, we are opening up 2 new security roads. We are moving equipment to make sure that we make security roads, which we have discussed, especially in Baringo North, and I am looking for an opportunity to have a discussion with Honorable Kamburen on 2 major roads that will take care of Arabal, Mukutane, Ngelecha, and that interface between Arabal Hills, Mukutane, and into the Laikipia Nature Conservancy, which is giving us a lot of problems because of the reasons which I've explained. So, Mr. Speaker, we are not there, but we are on the way there. I am going back to the operation area, and I am going to stick there a little longer. And I know between us and the political leadership, we'll find a lasting solution through security roads, through NPRs, and through intelligence-led investigations. Mr. Speaker, I think that's all for now. And once again, the Honorable Kamburen, the information you've given me will be acted on immediately I leave this chamber. Maybe we can talk and discuss how we can support you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Milemba, what is out of order? Give Omboko Milemba the mic.
With the humility, Honorable Speaker, the Waziri did dare both you and the House that he can table the recoveries in all those areas. And what we see in the media gives an impression that the government is not doing as much, like the bandits are doing so much. So could you please, Honorable Speaker, if I'm in order, to order that the minister tables those documents immediately so that the people from those areas and Wananchi in general can have confidence in the progress. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
I think it's not papers but statistics that he promised to table. Minister, when we are done, you can pass on the document, the statistics to us. Now, honorable members, I still have members who have worked here, 8 in number, and on the screen I have 11 who are interested in this question. This is a trial run, like I said, and we said we'll be having about 3 supplementaries. But because the members who have come here can take judicial notice are mostly from the epicenter of the security challenges, indulge me to give them a minute each to ask 1 question each. I don't give you an opportunity to make a speech or to go to unhelpful tirades. Ask a supplementary to the minister, and I'll also ask him to oblige the House with short answers to save on our time. Member for Manyata. And I also notice, honorable members, honorable member for Manyata, you've seen me and you've said you want to ask a question about the Kianjokoma brothers. Now, that is totally unrelated to what is going on now. But you can ask. It is good if you have a question that you want to ask, file one, and the minister will come and answer.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Yes.
Why I wrote Kenjokoma brother is because we are still reeling in loss of those 2 young brothers, and we have not recovered up to date. And Honorable Speaker, I first want to say thank you to Waziri, because he has really shown a lot of restraint during mandamanos on the issue of using police force. Honorable Speaker, my question is on the investigation, efficiency of investigation of extrajudicial killing. And we have a case here where police body investigates itself. And I would like Waziri to kindly give us an overview, because he has come in as a new blood with a very nice team that can help improve this issue. But Honorable Speaker, many extrajudicial killings that we have had, including the Yala River famous killings, Honorable Speaker, we would like to know what he is doing as a ministry in terms of policy level to improve on the efficiency of police investigation. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Turkana Central, 1 minute. Give the member for Turkana Central. There's a mic next to you.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this chance, and also I join the rest of the members in thanking the CS for being the pioneer CS to appear before the House. First, as we speak here today, Honorable Speaker, there are families, more than 50 households that have lost their animals, their livestock, in the 1 a.m. raid in Turkana Central, in Turkana East, and in Turkana South. The animals are being driven towards Tiati as we speak, and we are still pursuing the bandits as we speak. Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, in Uganda, there are Turkanas, 32 of them, who are cordoned, wrapped up, and imprisoned through the court-martial in Uganda. One question that I want to ask is, why is the CS not able to implement such also in Kenya, where the caves, the gorges, and the places he mentioned in the Gazette notice, why is there no action in terms of cordoning and even wrapping up the bandits in those areas?
Thank you, Honorable Member.
Number two, Honorable Chair.
One question.
Okay.
Thank you. You are done, Honorable Member. Baringo North. Yes, Honorable Junet. Hold on, Honorable. Give Honorable Junet the mic.
Hello, Mr. Speaker. Thank you for indulging me, Mr. Speaker. If I heard the member very clearly, he said, Mr. Speaker, that cows are being taken to Tiati as we speak now here.
No,
and the member of Parliament for Tiati is here, Mr. Speaker.
He said they're headed to towards Tiati.
Towards Tiati, Mr. Speaker.
Which is different from being taken to
And the member of Parliament for Tiati is here, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, could he explain this matter a bit further, whether the cows are going to his home, Mr. Speaker?
That is for... I invite the member for Baringo North.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'll utilize the 1 minute as follows. One, Mr. Speaker, this is the only cabinet secretary alive in security who has actually spent his energy and time and resources.
Ask your question.
So I want to thank him. Number one question, Mr. Speaker, my intelligence is that the bandit that was taken away in hospital in Iten is the one that killed my cousin. And he was taken by 10 bandits in an hospital in Iten, driven to wherever by the other bandits. Could the minister therefore tell us when that wounded bandit who was in hospital will be brought to book? And my last question, Mr. Speaker, I still have the 1 minute, Mr. Speaker. When is the minister going to operationalize the cassetted administrative units in Baringo North? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. There was a member who wanted to ask about the abduction of the injured bandit, so you don't have to rise to ask that question. Honorable Ariko. Ariko from Turkana, is it Loima?
South.
Turkana South.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I want to appreciate this opportunity. I want to voice what is happening in Turkana South and Turkana East. Honorable Speaker, I request to ask a supplementary question with regards to the capacity of our security agencies. Honorable Speaker, what is happening in Turkana? We have experienced rampant raids, which we cannot explain the intention of these raids. Honorable Speaker, yesterday, my constituency experienced 3 raids, both in one ward called Katil Ward. It happened at 1 p.m. and again a repeated one at 5 a.m. Honorable Speaker, I wish to ask the Minister for Interior, CS Professor Kindiki, do we have a capacity as a country to handle this internal conflict? Because there has been a recurrent raids or conflict in this country. What are the plans now that our security agencies on the ground are experiencing shortage of resources to handle this conflict? Honorable Speaker, as at now, we have surveillance vehicles, we have KDF, we have a number of security agencies in Turkana South. But unfortunately, the response we are experiencing, this response can only happen during the daytime. The bandits have come up with a new strategy. And this strategy is only to raid at night. When our security agents are sleeping, they cannot operate at night. Honorable Speaker, what is the take of our CS with regards to this matter? Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Speaker.
Hold on. Thank you, Honorable Ariko. Avoid the temptation to make a speech in the guise of a question. Honorable Kangogo.
Mr. Speaker, I want to ask the Cabinet Secretary for Interior, Mr. Kindiki. Mr. Speaker, I want to ask the Cabinet Secretary, the National Police, Mr. CS, they don't have the capacity to handle the bandits in Kerio Valley. Mr. Speaker, on Friday, peacemakers from West Pokot and my constituents, Mr. Speaker, recovered about 7 heads of cattle, and they were taken to a Chieshu camp in a place called Kamele, so that to be handed over to the owners the following day. Mr. Speaker, that night, a daring bandits entered into a Chieshu camp and took away all the animals. On Friday, Mr. Speaker, the same thing with the honorable member for Baringo North talked about. A bandit who was arrested and taken to county headquarters in Iten, where we have about 100 policemen. The county headquarters, Mr. Speaker. And then 10 bandits came all the way about 200 kilometers away to rescue their own, and they successfully took away from the police. Mr. Speaker, I want to ask the CS to confirm to this House, Mr. Speaker, that the National Police Service are unable to handle the bandits, and bring a motion to this House so that we can have the Kenya military or the KDF to take over the operations of bandits in Kerio Valley.
The women rep Turkana, she's left. Yes,
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
1 minute.
Okay, thank you. I only have a very brief question to to the CS. Right now, we're being told that the person who was booked in at E10 County Referral was a bandit. Was there any OBLs who were booked that that particular person had previously been identified as a bandit or not? And then we would wish to know, was he taken by the police, or if there are other people who came to the county referral and took him, if people are calling them bandits, can they name them by their names? So what I wish to know is, was there an OB elsewhere that Dennis was booked as a bandit? And the other ones who came to the rescue, were they police, or if as bandits? Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Speaker.
you. Last, the Honorable Farah Maalim.
Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker.
Minister be ready to answer after Farah.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable members, be patient. If I'm satisfied there is enough interest, I'll give another round.
Mr. Speaker, this is, I must commend the government on this, because this is the first time the military has been used for a peacekeeping